Hey folks, welcome to week 11 of GID 109, Intro to Web Design. All right, so let's see where we are at this week. Last week we introduced Project 2, where you guys are going to create an e-commerce website prototype for a toy design, which is related to the Fashion Institute of Technology's toy design program in New York. So we're picking up with that this week. Let's go over to our week 11 module, see what's going on. So this week is all about planning your e-commerce site. This is going to be deliverable 1 from our web design workflow. And so there's a couple of things to go over this week. Lots of research, lots of planning, lots of brainstorming. So first of all, let's see, we do have a consumable this week, which will be helpful to you here under Meteor. This is Top E-Commerce Design Trends from 2019. This is a great quick overview video. It's about 4 minutes and 20 seconds just to go over sort of some of the newer components of e-commerce websites, things that have been being utilized more recently. So check it out. That's a good place to sort of start your research. Now, other stuff you're going to do this week, let's take a look at the assignment. So again, Project 2, excellent e-commerce site. So last week you completed your prep steps, right? Which was to go to FIT's toy design website and choose the toy of your choice, your favorite. And then you were going to write up a couple of pages explaining what the toy was all about, what its name was, what its play features were. And you were going to write a second page that sort of talked about some ideas on accessories or complementary toys or expanding the world of the toy as you saw it. You can include some sketches. Obviously, you were asked to be as imaginative as possible, and then sort of get rolling on the web design workflow. So now this week, we're over here in the web design workflow, which is right here. And we are going to tackle deliverable 1, which is due at the end of this week. Now, of course, we've done this already for project 1, so you should be pretty familiar with this process by now. So that means that this week, you are going to complete a needs assessment. You are going to complete some research. You are going to go through your ideation and brainstorming steps, and you're going to make some sketches. So obviously you know what these are. So in our first project, we started with our prep steps by making sort of a list of things we thought were wrong with the websites we were going to redesign. We didn't have to do that this time because this time around our prep steps involve just sort of getting to know the toy of your choice, which is fine, which is great, which is different. But now this week, of course, we still have to do our needs assessment because even though we're not fixing a website, we are instead designing a website from scratch. You still have to figure out what the needs are, right? So, of course, review the project handout a couple of times. Imagine that you are going to be creating this toy e-commerce website for a client, right? You can imagine whatever client you would like. But even in this imaginary client situation, they are going to try to solve some problems with the web design, right? What are they trying to solve? What are they trying to get across with their website? What type of content is going to be necessary for this site? Now, to do this, of course, you're really going to have to do some research because you may or may not be familiar with the way e-commerce sites work. Now, that's not to say you've never interacted with them. I'm sure you've bought stuff on Amazon or from other websites. That's all e-commerce. But from a web design point of view, maybe you haven't really been paying attention to it. And really, why would you be, right? So the research this week is really going to talk about going and looking at a bunch of other e-commerce sites and seeing how they went about not only constructing the site, but what sort of tools and assets that they have used. So a good place to start with that is over here on Behance, okay, or Behance, depending on how you would like to pronounce it. Tomato, you get the idea. So Behance, of course, is a place where designers of all stripes show off their projects. And so in the search bar, you can type in a few things that would be useful to you. If you type in sort of e-commerce site, you'll find a bunch of sites that are sort of general e-commerce website designs. You might have to type in e-commerce, e-commerce website design, e-commerce site design, try a few different iterations. And maybe you'll find something like this one that I found on Behance. This one was done by this gentleman, Ishan Yves, who put together this really nice website design for Portofini. Now, granted, this is a clothing store, and you guys are going to be creating a e-commerce site for a toy product and associated toy products, but that doesn't mean you can't learn things from other people's designs simply by seeing how they display their imagery, what kind of page structure they use, how they go through details of it. I love his little bulleted list here that he uses. that goes over how this website works. You could go over some play features for your toy using some real simple high-end bulleted points, right? Nice hierarchy typographically, bolded statement, short sentence underneath. Remember, audiences don't want to read paragraphs and paragraphs of information. They want to get tidbits of information that are enticing and engaging and make them want to become interested in it. So you can look at all these different sorts of things. This is just one example of an e-commerce site. But of course, if over here in Behance you type in toy website, you might find something like this one here, which is a great design for an online toy store that was done. Now, it's not in English, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You can check out some of the great choices they made in terms of how they're displaying their information and their graphics and whatnot. So this, of course, is just a style guide. It goes over the font choices that were made, as well as the color palette. But if you check out the way the website itself is designed, big, bold shapes and colors, rounded edges. I love this sort of sliding navigation system up here that's based on iconography and pictograms. And you can tell right away, right? You've got how many things you've been looking at, how many things you've favorited, your shopping cart, and so on. Nice big graphic in the front. Simple big flat colors, nice typography. So, you know, something that kids and families would be interested in for these types of toys here. Notice how they have it broken down by ages. That's kind of fun. And so anyway, you can learn things based on the way other people have made decisions. Now, we're not necessarily trying to copy other people's work, but at this point in the game, particularly since you haven't probably done such a thing before, it's good to get influenced by other people's design choices. Now, Behance is a great place to start. I like it a lot because it shows the whole process and what people have been working on, but certainly you can search outside of Behance. I would say try to stay away from the more well-known e-commerce sites. Like, don't go look at Amazon. They're sort of a monster of a company, and they do something a very specific way. Remember, we're creating an e-commerce site for a specific toy, sort of like what we were just looking at, and maybe some of its additional play features and whatnot. And so now you don't have the benefit of having a lot of photography or graphics to work with. You just have that one photograph that you took from the FIT lookbook. But from that, you could create illustrations, you could create graphics, you can alter the photograph. So be as creative as you can in terms of showing off your product, okay? This one here is great. This is not actually an e-commerce website, but it's a project about creating specific toys. And I like that it shows us sort of the process of how they've gone through it. So again, try to find some inspiration from things that aren't exactly what it is you're looking for and, you know, that are related in different ways. This one here, the Kiddo website, is kind of neat. Again, this is about smart products for children, so it is essentially a toy website, but you can see the various sort of products they're promoting and how they show them. Nice textures, nice combination of 2D graphics and 3D photography. Again, nice bold typography, bold flat colors, all sorts of great stuff. So certainly do your research. And that is really the name of the game this week, is research, 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 as well as brainstorming and ideation so that you can get your first deliverable for Project 2 turned in by the end of this week. And again, a reminder, your first deliverable includes your needs assessment, which can just be a couple of paragraphs of information or some bulleted lists. All of your research, make sure you source where you're getting all your research from. Put down some comments about your research, show us some screenshots, whatever works. Your ideation and brainstorming, however you decide to do that, is up to you. And some sketches. So those are all due by the end of this week. And between that and the prep steps, that will conclude our first couple of weeks of really kind of diving into the concept of this toy e-commerce website, really wringing out your imagination and coming up with good ideas to promote and design a website around this toy. And then we're going to start getting into the building of the site next week with our wireframes and usability testing and so on and so on. But for now, let's stay in the whole creative process and really come up with some good ideas for this website. All right, so that's what you're doing this week. Get cracking on it. Make sure you set aside enough time to do this properly so that you really can kind of get into the zone and be as creative as you need to be. All right, I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And if you need me, you know where to find me. Either send me an email or hop into my Zoom office hours. I will be happy to talk to you. All right, you guys have a great day. See you soon.